So you're thinking about moving to Vegas and possibly getting a house with a pool. There's only one problem. You don't know anything about pools. I was in the same position. I moved to Vegas and I had to learn from scratch everything about having a pool, the maintenance required, and what it means to be an owner of a pool. For instance, the liability alone that comes with pool ownership deserves its own video. In this video, my goal is to make a great starting point for someone who's going to begin their journey of pool knowledge and pool ownership. This is the video that I wish I had. So let's jump right into it. The first thing we're going to talk about when it comes to pools are the equipment that pools generally have and the tools and equipment that you need to maintain it. And keep in mind, this video is for in-ground pools, particularly in-ground pools in the Las Vegas area. Pools generally have these things called skimmers. If you don't know what a skimmer is, basically it's a basket that helps collect debris that falls into the pool. The skimmer baskets need to be cleaned out every day or ever so often. Some pools have one, some pools have more than one. But these baskets also need to be replaced. Generally, you can find all of the items that I'm going to list at a local pool store or on Amazon. In addition to the pool skimmers, you're going to want the nets to clean off any debris that falls in, any large debris. You're going to want the scrubbers to clean the walls, especially at the water line, because that's where you're going to find that most of the hard water buildup is going to be. And it's always good to have the various home items that you would have anyway, such as, brooms, things like that, buckets. You definitely want buckets to help you mix the chemicals. Speaking of chemicals, there's several different things you can do to maintain the levels in your pool. But the first thing you want to do is get these strips. The strips measure the chemical composition of your pool. If you use the strips, then you'll have a good starting point on knowing what types of things you need to add, whether it be chlorine or shock. Generally, the idea with the chemicals is to add what you need to prevent any type of growth. And if you want your pool to not have as many chemicals, there are other ways to do that as well. But right now, I'm going to focus on the more traditional way to take care of a pool. Another alternative to chemicals, people generally have found that if they use saltwater pools, they can get away with having less chemicals put into their pool water. I don't have a saltwater pool, so what I'm going to talk about is what it's like to have a freshwater pool. Freshwater being in quotes, you definitely don't want to drink pool water. Having a pool in Las Vegas can be an amazing thing, but it can be intensive to take care of it. I'm going to try to mitigate some of that for you with the information in this video. As far as the heavy hardware of the pool, there's going to be generally a couple types of filters. Well, you're going to have generally one of two types of filters. And these filters also need to be cleaned periodically. They need to be cleared of debris. The filters are going to be in a container that sometimes will look like a trash can or a large bin. It's generally going to be the biggest item where your pool equipment is. And speaking of the pool equipment, we're going to also need to be aware of the pipes and the plumbing that comes with the pool. There's going to be plumbing going from the pool to the filters. There's also going to be plumbing to help with the airflow of the jets. The biggest rule about pool maintenance that you need to keep in mind is you need to do what is necessary to prevent the growth of algae. Algae likes to grow in stagnant water, so it's very important to keep circulation on your pool. If you see the overflow from the spas or hot tubs flowing into the pools, that helps circulate. The jets also help circulate the water. And there's different directions you would want to place the jets depending on the size and shape of your pool. In the summer months, you're going to want more circulation than in the winter months because algae can grow faster when it's hot outside. So what that means for you is that the pool jets and the overflow from the spa it's going to need to be on more hours when it's hot outside versus when it's cold outside. These are all things I did not know when I first moved here. But over time of maintaining your home pool, you begin to pick up on these things, especially if you do your research and especially if you work with pool professionals like I do myself. On this channel, we talk about all things Las Vegas. If that's something that interests you, make sure you hit the like and subscribe button. And also make sure the notification bell's turned on so you're hit up every time I post a new video. That brings me to my next point, pool professionals. When you first get your home, you're going to have your inspections during your due diligence process. And generally first, a general inspector is going to come out and they're going to examine the property. Usually this will happen if you're trying to finance a property. You will have to get it assessed. And the person who comes, the third party who comes, they will see all the items in the house, assess it from top to bottom. And if they are a good assessor, they will tell you all the details and the nitty-gritty of the property. But almost no matter how good of an assessor they are a generalist. So what you are going to do during the same due diligence period, if possible, is get further inspections with specialists. Things like a pest inspection, or have an electrician come out, have people come out for the plumbing. That's where owning a pool gets tricky, because you need to have people who can look at the pool items, but also you need an electrician. And the problem is that sometimes they think that certain responsibilities belong to the other one and vice versa. Pool lights can be dangerous. You're definitely going to want a professional to take a look at pool lighting and any wiring or electrical that could be involved with your pool. Sometimes wires can expand underground with these in-ground pools, and they need to be periodically changed. My name is Omar Willis, and I'm a realtor in the Las Vegas area. If you're even thinking about moving to Las Vegas, could be in 2 weeks, 2 months, 2 years, it's best to start the process sooner than later. And I love the opportunity to earn your business. Everything you need to reach me is in the description box below. Having a pool comes with certain liabilities. You definitely want to check for what area and HOA you live in for specific rules, but you're usually going to want some type of fence or barrier from the public, which is very common in certain areas, but other areas it's not so common. So you want to make sure you have some kind of barrier to prevent people from falling in. You definitely want to check with your HOAs and the rules of your particular area as to whether or not you can have a pool covering. Sometimes you can't always do that. Sometimes fences have to be a certain height. And if they're not tall enough, then you're still responsible if someone were to, say, hop your fence and get hurt in your pool. It's one thing for you to get hurt inside of your pool, or a family member or a friend, but it's another thing for a kid or someone who decides to trespass on your property. They get hurt and now you get sued. So you definitely want to make sure that you're following all the regulations on that one. In Las Vegas and in lots of cities where pools are common, pool companies are also common. You can usually buy the service monthly, bi-weekly, sometimes quarterly. We have a pool guy who comes weekly to help maintain our pool, and during the interim, I also maintain the pool. What the pool guy typically does when he comes is scrub the water line. He clears any debris that may be inside of the pool. He clears the skimmer baskets. He also makes sure that the pool vacuum is running properly. In addition to that, he makes sure that the plumbing is working effectively, our filters are cleaned, and the pool pump works effectively. The pool pump is one of the more expensive pieces as far as equipment goes, but if you take care of that, it will take care of your pool. This is the device that pushes the air through the system. You also have to make sure that it's clear of debris and that the basket inside of the pool pump is clean. Sometimes with the Vegas heat, the baskets inside the pool pumps can get warped. So you want to make sure you check on that as well. So I'm going to have a quick word on critters as far as pools go and how that may affect your home. As we all know, Las Vegas is a desert. So that means that animals and critters who live there are going to look for water. There are lots of things you can do to prevent animals from coming and using your pool as their water source. But in general, this is a battle that you might not win, but you can mitigate it. For instance, deciding on whether or not you want to have a lot of greenery in your yard is going to be a huge factor for how much critters do try to get into your pool. We have desert landscaping in our backyard, so it eliminates a lot of the pest problem right there. When we first came, the biggest issue was birds. Pigeons, ravens, maybe they weren't ravens, but to me they were ravens. Crows, things of that nature. All types of birds wanted to drink the water. We had to constantly get the decks scrubbed for the things they were leaving behind. I think you know what I mean. And so we decided to take some measurements to deter some of the birds. We got different panels that reflect light. We got the owls that are stationary, although you have to move them around. We also got bird spikes for the roof area that they were sitting in. And we overlaid a slab so that way the overflow from the jacuzzi spa area goes under a rock and the birds don't have access to it anymore. Just doing those measures actually made the birds come less and less over time. And now it's very rare that I see a bird trying to take a sip out of our pool. Oh, and one more thing that we did that I thought was funny, it was kind of fun for me, is we used rubber snakes and placed them strategically around the pool. The birds would fly down, get scared midair, and turn right back around. The rubber snakes definitely worked for a brief period of time, but the birds are smart. They eventually knew they weren't real, and that didn't stop them in the beginning. I've seen other people use rubber lizards and chameleons, things like that. As far as water bugs and mosquitoes go, there are certain times of the year that they do want to congregate around the pools in Vegas, but you're not going to see them as much as you might see them in some of the major East Coast cities and in the South. There's also deterrents that you can use for that. I'm really lucky because my neighbor has a garden, and on the one hand, you can think of that as unlucky because it does draw more animals and insects, but on the other hand, they want to go to her side of things. They want to go deal with her garden and her mini farm. They generally leave my pool alone because of just that distraction alone. So you definitely want to make sure you see what the neighbors have going on when you decide on a home, because certain neighbors can draw in more pests. I also think it's possible that she's using some kind of insecticide over there because we don't get as much bugs as I've heard other people getting who have pools. And also we had a couple of pest people come out here to maintain the property. What they do is they spray the entrances and things like that, the wet areas, just to make sure that pests don't come to there and don't start to populate the area. And every time we've had pest control come out, they've always said that they haven't seen anything. And usually that's rarer for a house with a pool, especially with a pool next to a garden so large. So here are some quick facts about pools in Las Vegas that you might want to know. You have to definitely replace the pool water more often in Las Vegas because the water here is generally hard. So that means that it has minerals and things like that that will build up in the water and will affect the chemical composition of it. However, you can't drain the pools when it's very hot outside because what that will do is crack your plaster. The sun hits the plaster, it cracks it. You're going to start to have some cosmetic issues, potentially greater issues than that. So the plaster in the pools in Vegas need to stay wet during the summer. If you are going to drain your pool to refill it with new water, one of the times you definitely don't want to do it if it's raining heavy outside. If it's raining, the groundwater underneath the ground, there's water, there's lakes. Underneath the ground in Las Vegas, there's generally a water table about 6 feet down. That's one of the reasons why you see less basements in Las Vegas. It's another reason why there's flooding in Las Vegas during heavy rains. What that means for your pool is that if the level of the water table rises and your pool doesn't have the volume of water to keep it set, the water table is going to push the pool pocket up out of the ground and it's going to destroy your pool. The weight of the pool water keeps it in place as the water table rises underneath. So the best time to change the pool water will be when it's cool outside, when direct sun isn't on the plaster, and when it's not raining. So generally that'll be during winter nights in Las Vegas. A lesser known fact is that you can actually get algae in your pool. Even though you're maintaining it very well, you can get things like black algae if people come from ocean or beach or lakes and having the same clothing or same materials such as pool toys and things of that nature. If they use those without cleaning those in your pool, they can transfer the things from the ocean and the lakes into your pool. And once you have that black algae, it's very hard to get rid of it. So you definitely want to make sure you don't cross-contaminate things that were used at other water sources inside of your pool. I think that's a pretty comprehensive start to your pool knowledge for Las Vegas. But let me know if I missed anything. Leave a comment below. There's so many things that I wish I knew about pools when I first got this home. And I definitely make sure when I work with clients, if they're looking for a home that has a pool or they purchase a home that has a pool, I definitely make sure they get all the knowledge that I've accumulated, and that way it'll make things smoother for them. The last thing I want is for you to get your pool and not be happy with it. I hope the info in this video was helpful for you. If you want to know more about Las Vegas, click one of the videos on screen that make the most sense to you.